First of all, congratulations on Farewelling. It is an incredible watch. It is so captivating, and the twist at the end is incredible. Without giving any spoilers, give me a little rundown on how this project came to be.
A little rundown on how the project came to be. My co-writer Sarah McMaster and I were talking about how can I cuss? How fucked up the pandemic was. That like our generation who, we were just coming into our careers and we had mortgages and our parents are getting in that age range where they needed our help. And so we were like, man, this is unlike any other generation. Like we just got a wrench thrown in, and for 2 years we were told, isolate, quarantine, and it appeared that like our whole world had kind of begun to decay. You started to see the rise in mental health issues, you started to see a rise in overdosing, in suicides, and we thought we really needed to make a movie that kind of captured that emotional trauma that we were all experiencing.
Definitely, it was very claustrophobic at times. It really did capture that sense of being trapped inside that house, but at the same time, you have the coming back together and grieving for the people that we've lost. And grieving looks different for a lot of people, and I like the fact that everybody in this film is grieving a different way for their friend. um where did that come from?
Thank you for acknowledging that. I come from a really large family, and my father had had a stroke during the pandemic, and it was that kind of thing we had actually filmed a couple of months after he had left my home and being under my care. But it was the kind of thing where you witness. I have a sister who immediately goes to comedy, and like everything's funny, and that's just her way of processing stuff. Where I don't think I could stop crying. I was just constantly weeping. Um, Joseph Campbell talks about different masks, and I think that that as a writer, you have to acknowledge that everybody wears a mask to portray different emotions. And so when you're developing the character, you want to really know and understand what their mask is, And so when you talk about grief, what's your mask for grief? Maybe like in the case of Daniel's character, he's always making it intimacy. He's always, he sexualizes the processing of his emotions. And then we talk about Jenna's character who spiraled a little bit into depression. So, yeah, we really felt that it was important to understand what everyone's parameter was when dealing with the emotions.
Definitely, and all these characters are quite unique. How important was it to find like the right people in the cast to play these characters?
We were really, really fortunate in that um, I had a lot of very talented friends. So as we were developing it, I reached out to them. Kristen Coppin was always going to play Jenna. Sarah and I have been friends with Kristen for over a decade, and we knew that she had the grit and the ability to kind of carry this very, very heavy character. Um, and then it was kind of easy to build around that. So reaching out to Rob Evers and saying, "Hey, I've got this role and I think you're perfect for," and Robert Thomas Preston, same thing. So it was just really it was a gift. It was a gift to reach out directly to the talent and ask them to come play during the pandemic.
Definitely. And what kind of conversations did you have with them? Because this this movie could be kind of heavy at points.
What kind of conversations did I have about the heaviness of the movie? All of us were feeling the weight of the world. I think that everybody on both the cast and the crew, we lived together. So we shot this during the pandemic, where we all took a week to 2 weeks to isolate and quarantine before testing, and then all coming to live together in that house that we shot in. And what was the crazy and kind of wonderful thing, and yet at the same time very human and very sad, is that everybody was coming with their own levels of grief. So one of the cast and crew had recently lost their mother. One of the cast and crew was coming off of 3 bouts of COVID and had lost their uncle. Another was coming out of, their father having cancer and not being able to see him. Um, it was just, it was really easy to take the grief that we were feeling and infuse it into the project. And then it kind of made it a little chaotic because after we called cut, it was like, all right, let's go barbecue. Let's go eat dinner together.
That's awesome. And like you said, yeah, it does get very chaotic in the movie as well. You have so many different personalities coming together. Some of them are clashing, some of them are getting to know each other. Um, beside the grief, beside, you know, everything they're going through, they're each going through their own personal struggle.
Yeah.
Bringing that into it, like, brings just another layer to each character. Was it difficult to get the actors to that point where you're satisfied with their performance?
Not really. Dealing with this level of talent, I knew that they would all be able to bring it because we only shot this, I think we shot a total of maybe 20 days, but it was 14 days consecutively. And so I knew that I only had a couple of takes. The challenging part was as the writer, I had this script memorized. So anytime there was a deviation away from the line, that was probably the challenge of being like, no, I really have to have it back. There's a tongue twister that the actress Jenna says where she's talking about her meds and she says, he hates it when I'm off my meds. He hates me when I'm on them. And the subtext is my husband hates me and I get it.
Yeah.
He's not happy with me. Um, but the line is so it's a little bit of a tongue twister. So going through that and going through it, I had it memorized. Where I think that in some cases, being an actress myself, you know that you have some leniency with the lines. You can kind of say, hey, that car's yellow. If the line is, it's the yellow car. But that was probably my own personal challenge, is just being really delicate with what was in the script because we took a lot of time to marinate over the dialogue.
Definitely. And being an independent film, there isn't many independent films that get to be shown, but you're going to be shown at the TCL Chinese Theater. How does that feel?
We screened Saturday night at the Chinese Theater, and we had done a private screening at the Noe House, and it was lovely. It was very intimate. It was very wonderful. But the experience at the Chinese Theater is where we really got to, and a lot of the cast and crew came up and said, "Oh my gosh, the sound, the Dolby surround sound." We took a lot of time because I felt that during the pandemic, we were really overstimulated. You had constant news and friends and interaction. Even though you were isolated, we were being pounded with media and and news, like update, life, everything, every day something was changing. And so I wanted that overstimulation to kind of resonate in the film. So I really leaned into, I got to work with a wonderful sound team. Sebastian Visconti was our supervisor and he worked on The Purge. Noah Hunt came in with his sound studio. And it was really about when you're in the theater and you're watching this, you should audibly be overwhelmed.
Mhm.
Everything. It should be like the inside of someone's head, where you're hearing the inner monologue, you're feeling the pressure of anxiety, you're actually hearing the surround sounds of the environment. And so hearing it and having it play at the Chinese theater was such a wonderful delight because it got to lend us to hearing the sound the way we had intended it to be.
Definitely. Not only is the atmosphere sound great, you pick amazing music. Like, for me personally, during the pandemic, I got into a whole different genre of music that was more calming, more relaxing. This is kind of what it felt like. Where did the music choice come from for you guys?
So I'll be honest, during the pandemic, my saving grace was TikTok. I leaned into that app so hard, and as well as Instagram. But one of the wonderful things that I had found on Instagram was DJ Nice. and he would just play these like long songs or long like playlists that kind of just let you mellow out or groove. And so when we began to talk about the film and knowing the importance of choosing the right songs, I really got to work with two talented women, Jessica Burnt and Rachel Glago, over at the Secretly group. And I said, hey, I want this soundtrack. And I just want it to really, really resonate with these scenes. And so they came back with nonstop list of incredible artists, and we would listen to them and watch them with the scene and say, okay, this works. Next scene. Okay, this works. Next scene. Because I do feel that music was a huge component of surviving during the pandemic.
Definitely. Well, congratulations on this film. It's fantastic. It's a very
Thank you
lovely
so
film.
much, Jesus.
So I'm very honored to get to talk to you about it.